Alright, welcome to the Game Smash Podcast. As always, I'm your host, William Liberty, and with me is...
Was Muhammad Yusuf.
And we got a pretty good list of news today. We got Black Ops 3, Conker's Big Reunion, Invisible Ink, more Evolve DLC, Witcher 3, Guitar Hero Live, and more Dissidia news. Alright, but first off, let's start with what we've been playing this week. Me, just more Bloodborne. Just been having a blast with Bloodborne, and my friend's already beaten the game, so I'm trying very hard to catch up to him.
Okay.
And it's been hard. It's been hard, man. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. But I still think it's a really great game, and it's a lot of fun. The only thing that's kind of a bummer are what they were advertising were the dungeons
Chalice?
the Chalice dungeons. It's not that they're like terrible, it's just that they're kind of, compared to like the actual main game, they feel kind of subpar in comparison.
Okay.
It's just because it's like the bosses aren't as interesting. They feel more like Dark Souls 2 bosses, which...
Damn.
Yeah, and the thing is that even though I like Dark Souls 2, like some of the bosses in that game are really kind of cheap and stupid. But to be fair, I still think it's kind of cool. But to be honest, I just that kind of drop in quality is a little bit low. But needless to say, though, still Bloodborne, amazing game, still having a blast. I will beat it one day. But anyway, what you been up to, Fawaz?
Oh, I was trying out a game, Bastion.
Ah, yes, good old Bastion. I love it.
Yes, an oldie. It just got released on the PlayStation. It got released for Spring Fever last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed something else to play, so I was like, hey, let me try out this Bastion. So I bought it. It's pretty weird hearing the dude comment on everything you do, because it's like I'm fighting some enemies and then I fall off the edge of a cliff and he's like, you should watch your step there, kid. And
but he's got such a smooth voice.
He's got a pretty smooth voice. I like it. I like I've only played for a little bit. I literally got it like last night, so I've only played for a little bit, but I enjoyed it so far. They have these little challenges that you can do with your weapons. The one I was trying to do was you had a bunch of targets that you had to clear with your bow, and you had to do it in as little shots as possible. So that took me a while to complete. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I look forward to seeing where the story is going. Yeah.
Yeah, overall the game has a really, really good atmosphere. The music is fantastic. I think that the composer is Darren Korb, and he's really awesome. And yeah, because you've already heard me just talk about Transistor to death. But
yeah,
I feel like it's good to see. All right, this is the game that kind of got them kind of noticed by a lot of people, and then you can kind of see where Transistor came from. That idea of over-the-top gameplay kind of thing. But anyway, without further ado, let's start with some news. So, Fawaz, the biggest surprise, the hugest, biggest surprise of the year, Black Ops 3 has been announced. So...
Well, yeah. Nothing else to say there. Apparently, there's gonna be exosuits, because I guess people really liked them in Advanced Warfare. I wouldn't know. I didn't buy Advanced Warfare, but yeah, apparently there's gonna be exosuits, and nothing else to say. It's another Call of Duty. There's it's another Call of Duty. That's all I've got to say to that.
Well, I mean, like, here's my question for you. It's like, another new Call of Duty, big surprise. God, I can't even think how many Call of Duties we have at this point. I think we have like about 10 or something like that at this point.
Nah, we're at 12. Ghost was the 10th.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
yeah,
Okay.
this is the 12th Call of Duty.
But that's what I mean is that, like, okay, here's my question to you. What would Call of Duty have to have or do to revitalize the interest? Like, there's my question.
That is it. That's actually a very good question. Well, and I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, because on one hand, you don't want to stray too far from, because here's the thing is that as much as we make fun of it, and we, you know, as much as we make fun of Call of Duty, it still sells pretty well. I mean, Ghost flopped, and I think Advanced Warfare, the numbers were lower than usual, but I think Advanced Warfare still pushed, like, it still sold a decent amount. I don't have exact sales figures off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it still did. In fact, you know, I'm gonna look it up while we're.
But I feel like it overall, Advanced Warfare, from what I've seen, is overall a lot better game than Ghosts.
Yeah, Ghosts was shit.
Yeah. Yeah, oh god, that was.
But yeah, I think they don't want to stray too far from what's made this franchise popular. Because yeah, I'm looking at the numbers now. Advanced Warfare did 4 mil on the Xbox One, like 7 mil altogether, 7.5 mil altogether, which is 7.5, or is that 75? Of course, it's not 75. Yeah, 7.5 mil altogether, which is bad for a Call of Duty game, but it's pretty good, you know, in general. So I feel like they need to I do think people are leaning more towards the Twitch shooter type of gameplay, because I've been looking around and you know, like Titanfall, as much as it didn't sell that well, it did catch a lot of people's attention because of how fast-paced it was. And Advanced Warfare actually got a little more fast-paced. It got more of that Twitch shooter type gameplay. So maybe lean more towards that, make it even more fast-paced. But don't stray too far from what's made this franchise. I mean, we're at 12 games now. Yeah. So you know,
it's kind of like
too far.
Yeah, it's kind of like from a business standpoint, even though there's people that are complaining about it, and I obviously have gripes with the current standard for Call of Duty, there's still things that obviously work and are selling, so it's kind of like, even though I don't like it, it still works for a different audience. I'm just not really part of that audience anymore. I mean, I loved Call of Duty 4. And I actually really loved Modern Warfare 2. Like, those are my two favorite Call of Duties out of all of them. But honestly, after Modern Warfare 2, that's when I started to realize that this game was never going to evolve to, like, to anything more than what it already was. Like, it wasn't going to evolve to anything completely different. It was just going to... It had the formula down, and it was just going to keep on rinse and repeat. So oh well. I mean, like, some people might be super excited for this. This is only a teaser at this point, so we'll probably get more official gameplay on the 26th when the official trailer comes out. So I guess we'll have more things to say about it when that comes out.
Yeah.
But I would rather play Black Ops a million times than see what's happened to fucking Conquer. God damn it. All right. So basically, Conquer's big reunion got announced for Project Spark, which is that Xbox One game that's create your own levels and create your own game kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically supposed to be some sort of like remake kind of continuation of the Conker's Bad Fur Day games, from what I can tell. Now, I'm going to point out some couple obvious problems with this. Project Spark. Do you know what it's rated?
No.
It's rated T. It's rated T for teen. And Conker is... The original games were rated M. And they are the level of, like, South Park kind of jokes and comedy. Really, really, like, awful, like, you know, offensive kind of stuff. But that's sort of the whole point. So it's kind of... You think of it, it's kind of like... How would you put Deadpool in a T-rated game? Like, you know what I mean? Like, someone who's, like, swearing constantly and, you know, making sexual jokes and stuff like that in a T-rated game. Like, you can't do that. So that's the first problem out of the gate. And one, they keep trying to make it's like, oh, this is Conker's big reunion. It's this new game, and it's like, no, it's not really. The only reason that they decided to put Conker in this game was because he's a recognizable gaming icon, and that it will attract more people to buy Project Spark. That's all this really is. And it's like, I don't know. I had a lot of love for the original Bad Fur Day for what it was. So just to see what's happened, but just to see what Conker's become, it's just like, oh god damn it. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm with you for the most part. Okay, see, I actually think this is a good idea. This would have been a good idea if this wasn't like the only bit of Conker we have seen in the past 20 years. You know? Like if Microsoft have a Conker game in the works that they're gonna release, then I think this is actually a pretty cool idea. It's a cute idea because they sell the expansion pack, and then you also sell the assets, so you can use some of that stuff in some of your other Project Spark projects. Yeah. And also, just in regards to your thing about putting Deadpool in a T-rated game, he actually was in one. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yeah,
just FYI.
But I know, but you know what I mean, like full on blood and guts and shit. Like that's what I mean.
I know. But yeah, if this is all we're going to see of Conker for the next 6 or 7 years, then yeah, I completely share your disappointment because he deserves better. You know, Rare in general deserves better, but that's another discussion for another day. Yeah. But yeah, you know, he deserves better. He's we deserve a full-fledged Conker sequel. I mean, it's about damn time, in my humble opinion, anyway. But
here's a clear point. Like the South Park game released and did actually pretty well. So clearly there's a market for these kind of comedy games. So you could theoretically release a new Conker and it would probably work. Like that's what I mean. Is that clearly there's an audience for it. It just drives me nuts that it's like, oh well yeah, sure, we'll bring Conker back, but we'll bring him back in a T-rated game. It's like
anyway. I agree with you 100%. And this won't feel like a full-fledged Conker game. Yeah. So there's also that. It is unfortunate, but you know.
Oh well. I mean, at the very least, they acknowledge that he exists at this point.
You know what? At least it could be worse. It could be Cameo. You know, got released as a launch title, and we haven't heard from ever since. God, I miss Cameo, but I digress.
Yeah. Cameo. Cameo cross Conker. That would be one hell of a game.
Yeah, that really would. But moving on to more positive news. Yes. A game that I've had my eye on for a very long time, Invisible Ink, finally has a release date, May 12th, 2015, for the PC, Mac, and Linux. However, I don't own any of those consoles. So they also announced that it's coming to the PS4 sometime after that. They don't have a full-fledged release date, but if it's coming out May 12th for the PC, for the PC, Mac, and Linux, then a PS4 release can't be that far behind, I hope. Yeah, for those that don't know, Invisible Ink is it's a top-down isometric. No, that's not the right word. It's pretty much a stealth-based XCOM. And I love XCOM. Right. You know, we actually have a quick look featuring me playing some XCOM coming out soon. Check that out. And then, but yeah, I love XCOM. This is like a stealth-based XCOM. You pick your squad, you go in, permadeath. So if any of your agents die, they're dead for the entire campaign. There's no revives or any shit like that. You know, I love how it looks too. It's made by Clay Entertainment, thank God. Vancouver-based developer that made Mark of the Ninja, a game I referenced in our last podcast. Yes. Because I love it. And I'm very excited. I've been praying Invisible Ink would come to I was hoping for the Vita, but the PS4 works fine for me. And it's coming. So yeah, I'm excited. But how do you feel about this?
Well, I'm just excited. Yes, Tanner. uh, I'm excited for it because obviously I loved XCOM and I've been playing Darkest Dungeon. I've really been getting into these like strategic kind of games with permadeath and I'm excited because I one of the things that I liked about XCOM Enemy Within were those missions where you would have to send a person into the enemy base by themselves and then you would have to rescue them. So you were forced to a situation where he would be left with only like a pistol, and he would have to kind of like stealth his way through the level and try and do objectives and try and meet up with the rest of your squad. And I really like those kind of missions. And I was like, man, if they only had like missions where you were like in like an actual like apartment building or something like that, and you had to like go through levels and infiltrate and find passcodes and stuff like that. And this looks very similar to what I want, and like the assets look great, the style looks really cool, and honestly, like I just really want to get my hands on it at this point.
Yo, same here.
Yeah.
Same here. So yeah, May 12th, 25th, May 12th for PC, Mac, and Linux, and hopefully PS4 not too long after that.
Yeah. So hopefully it comes out and it's as good as I hope it is. But from what I've seen, I'm pretty sure it will. But moving on from that, more Evolve DLC being announced. So Fawaz, it's time. We got to have a talk. We gotta have the Evolve talk. We've given it some time, some breathe room to see where it's gone and what most of the general populace think of it. And we'll start with you because you were the big Evolve guy back in the day, a couple months ago. And I'm interested to see what you think of what Evolve has become now, or like because of more DLC trailers and launches. But let's see, what do you think of Evolve at this point?
Okay, so I'm a little. I mean, I don't own it. I have a PS4 and I don't own Evolve. So obviously, I'm not as excited. I'm not as impressed with it as I originally thought I would be. It's okay. Part of the problem is that I don't have a lot of friends because I just got my PS4 recently, so I don't have a lot of friends yet. But another part of the problem is that I definitely think it is too expensive. The game, because I mean, in Canada, first of all, next gen video games cost $70. You add the tax, and you're looking at $80 right out the gate. Then I'll buy the game, and I'll still have to shell out $25 for the 4 hunters, and then because I didn't pre-order it, I'll have to shell out $15 for the behemoth. And then if they release any tier 5 hunters, then I'm looking at more money. When it's all said and done, I'll end up paying close to $200 for this game, and that's just too much, With that said, the game itself is everything I thought it would be. It's just not as it's tough to explain. It's like the core gameplay is, in fact, it's Titanfall all over again. The core gameplay is exactly what I thought it would be. The game itself just doesn't have as much content as I would have hoped. There we go. Yeah. Just one quick thing though. I gotta give them credit for one thing though. They the character designs. Every single hunter is just brimming with personality, and I applaud them for that. I applaud them for that much. They deserve credit for. I do wish they had taken if they had taken more of a free to play, maybe not free to play exactly, maybe like a $20. Maybe the game itself costs like $20 or $30, and then or maybe a full on free to play system, and then. Yeah, and then you bought the hunters. I would definitely have picked the game up. But yeah, I still got to give them credit. The hunters, they're very, very. I love the hunters designs. I was looking at the new hunters, and they all look really cool. They all look really unique, and so that's my stance on Evolve. It does seem like the game didn't, similar to Titanfall, it did not set the world on fire the way everyone thought it would. Last time I checked, it was barely being played on Steam anymore. It wasn't that. It's just it's a shame. It's a shame.
It is really a shame. And but to go on what you were talking about, I do think like maybe if they had just had a different system, like if they had done something where like I want to say like Killer Instinct or something like that, where like the game
Yeah.
is free, or you can pay like $20 for like a group of characters, or you can pay for like very specific ones. Like
Yeah.
that might have been a little bit more fair because the amount of DLC, considering that the game already costs like about $60 to play from the get go,
Yeah.
is it's just ridiculous. Like it's just too much. And
It's
we
too
talked
much.
about, and my stance on it is basically similar to what we talked about before. Is that like, look, there's lots of games that have tons and tons of DLC, but the amount of DLC that's come out for Evolve in literally only like months of its release is
Yeah.
just eclipses half of the games that I can even think of. So
Yeah.
it's like it's I haven't seen that much DLC from like since Dead or Alive. But to be honest, it's like I still think the core game is fine. I do like the hunters. I do like the monsters. It's just it's a shame if they only thought of a different kind of model. If they were going to have this much DLC, I agree with you. They needed to have a different kind of model because they've clearly ticked off their target audience. Because like even like I've looked on Steam, very little people play it on Steam anymore, and the ratings for the game are about average. And I feel
Yeah.
like the biggest problem is that the game itself might not be that bad, but I think all this DLC BS
Yes.
that surrounds it has given the game such a bad rap. And it's a shame because I don't think it's a bad game. I just think there's this giant moat of shit kind of surrounding it. And the only way to get to the good game is to go through that moat of shit. So
Yeah.
it's a real shame. But this is sort of like cautionary tale with DLC. It's like if you're gonna have DLC for your game, go for it. But you gotta really think about how you're gonna present it because
Yeah.
this is just the perfect example of presenting your DLC in the most poorly managed way possible. But anyway, but let's move on to some more positive news. Witcher 3 gameplay trailer had a big kind of trailer. Had a nice narrator talking about all the different features in the game, the open world, and stuff like that. So I'm gonna give my 2 cents on it first, and I'll pass it off to you. But
Okay.
overall, I'm really excited for this game. I think it's going to be good. I'm a little bit worried about how, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, are they, overstepping their bounds? Are they biting off more than they can chew? But there are some interesting ideas, though, to say the least. One of the cooler things that I liked was the fact that enemies will change their tactics depending on the time and terrain. So I think that's really cool because I think that what that means is that maybe the wolves will be more aggressive and attack you on sight in the day, but at night they'll follow you around and be very stealthy, and then will only attack you when they find an opportune moment or something like that. So I kind of like that kind of aspect to it. Plus,
Yeah.
I think this means that like when you're monster hunting, quote unquote, um, you'll have to think of different tactics whether or not you're fighting the griffin during the day or during night. So I think that's also a really interesting thing. Plus, I also like the idea if you clear an area of monsters, settlers and people will come in and start building towns, and then you can get gear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it gives you a more legitimate reason to want to hunt monsters than, oh, I'm just gonna get some gold and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I find I find that that's a really interesting way to approach it. And the world, from what I saw, is very big and very open. Yeah, I'm excited, but I like basically my stance on the game is still pretty much the way it's been from the get-go. It's just it looks great. It's showing everything that I want, but I'm just really worried that they may have been overstepping their bounds a bit. And when the game actually officially launches, that there's going to be problems. Because here's the thing, like usually with open world games, there's
Yeah.
problems. Like Skyrim,
Yeah.
Skyrim's a good example of that. Like there was no fathomable way that they could fix everything with Skyrim when it launched. So it's kind of like that's what I'm worried about. But what are your thoughts so far, Fawaz?
Pretty much everything you've said. I it looks looks really good. It looks really, really good. I enjoyed the gameplay demo, and it was also nice to finally uh, see see someone walk us through all the options that you have in the game and stuff. It's I'm excited for it. I can't lie. The whole thing about when you clear an area, people will settle in. I'll believe that when I see it, because I'm sorry, I'm just very skeptical. Video games always tell me that shit. They're like, oh, you know, your decisions you'll see the world evolve around you, and then I play it, and it's something irrelevant. Yeah, so I'll believe that when I see it. But in general, yeah, I like what I'm seeing. I have no doubt in my mind the game is going to be buggy as shit when it launches, because that's just like, I've just come to acknowledge that's the nature of open world games. Like there's just you can't find everything. It's just when you make a game that big, it's impossible to find every single bug. So I'm just hoping it's nothing game breaking, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, Skyrim was buggy, but it wasn't buggy enough to make me stop playing it when it first launched. So I'm hoping for no game-breaking bugs. That's all I want. But yeah, the combat looks interesting. It looks dynamic, which is unique for an RPG. You know, RPGs, it's usually like, just hold this button down and, you know, let your stats do the work for you. But this looks a little more dynamic and closer to like a Ninja Gaiden than a Skyrim. But
yeah, I can kind of see that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm definitely excited, and there's a bunch of side stuff you can do in the game. You know, and I love the setting too, because it looks, it's like it looks like I'd be playing an episode of Game of Thrones, which excites me to no end. In fact, Charles Dance, one of the actors from Game of Thrones, actually voices a character.
Yeah. He voices the king in one of the trailers, and I swear to God, the way he's sitting in the throne is the exact way that he sat in Game of Thrones. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, when I heard the voice, I was like, wait a minute, is that Charles Dance? And so
damn right,
I'm excited. I'm definitely excited for the game.
But moving on from good old Witcher, a really baffling announcement: Guitar Hero Live. So let's show you. Okay, first off, this is weird because one, it's like Rock Band 4 got announced like a couple, I want to say a month ago, right?
Yeah.
And about a month, and then literally a couple weeks later, guys, we gotta announce a Guitar Hero. Okay, go. Music games are coming back.
Yeah, so, I'm like, this can't be a coincidence. Like, what are the odds?
Yeah, it's really weird. But what they shown now, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but you thought this was kind of interesting. But to me, I'm kind of like, I don't know. This looks really weird, because basically, it seems like instead of the 3D models, you have actual live footage of a crowd that can change depending on how well you do or how bad you do. Yeah. So the crowd will start throwing shit at you and putting up signs if you start fucking up the notes. But you're basically playing over live footage. And I always found that to be kind of weird, because it's like the one thing I always liked about Guitar Hero or even Rock Band was I liked being able to customize my own character. And if they're filming everything live, like using all this live action footage in the game, then it's like I'm not gonna be able to customize my character, and I'm gonna have no connection to the character at all. And also but the one thing I will say that did kind of, I went, okay, this is kind of cool, is they've announced a feature that you can play the Guitar Hero kind of stuff over music videos, which I think is actually a really awesome feature, because in Rock Band 3 and Rock Band 2, my favorite parts of that game were when you were playing in these sort of like psychedelic, you know, artsy backgrounds. Like your band was floating in like a weird color space. And I always liked that. So that I'm excited for, because there's obviously you're going to be able to play over some pretty creative music videos. But to be honest, from the main game that they shown with just the live action stuff, I'm not really impressed. But what are your thoughts?
because I've never played a Guitar Hero or Rock. I've never played one of those games before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you that I didn't like the fact that it's live,
Mm-hmm.
because like if a game like Rocksmith
Yeah.
went with a live audience, then it would have made more sense to me, because Rocksmith is trying to go for that, I mean, you use a real guitar
Yes.
in
Yeah.
Rocksmith, right? So, but then when I found out that the new guitar peripheral, it's still not a real guitar, I was kind of like, I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're going for this realistic vibe, but then the guitar is still an arcadey guitar. I don't know. I'll wait and see. One thing of note though is that there's only guitars, no drums, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Guitar Hero. It's back to its roots. Gosh, that sounds very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
But but yeah. So I guess now Rock Band and Guitar Hero can actually uh, address
Yeah.
different people, because like, I guess the people that want, and this is where my issue with the guitar comes in, because like people that want a more arcadey thing would go to Rock Band, right?
Yeah.
But then Guitar Hero would have addressed people that wanted a more realistic type of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But then since they don't have a realistic guitar, it's like, then who is your target audience?
Yeah.
Because if I want, because what does this game do that Rock Band doesn't do?
Not really much. Like, the only thing that's really standing out with this game is the fact that it's all live action. Like, a lot of it is live action kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really about it. And to be honest, like, that's the thing that's kind of making me go, you know what? You've got some kind of creative ideas, but to be honest, I'm still gonna go with Rock Band 4 over this. Like,
yeah, I'm definitely more excited for Rock Band 4.
Mm-hmm. Moving on from that, we got a new trailer for Dissidia, that Final Fantasy fighting game. So, we got some more news about it. The trailer was pretty cool. Showed off the characters. Cloud and Lightning. And more other interesting and dynamic characters, Squall and other characters that actually have personalities. But the other thing that was kind of interesting is that they talked about how the game is using a PS4 engine to a certain extent, or an engine that will be compatible with the PS4. So basically, it's heavily emphasized that the game will most likely be coming out on the PS4. They said that the release date is probably going to be around fall 2015, maybe. But these are all kind of speculations and stuff like that.
That's the arcade release date, though. The console release probably won't be until 26. Definitely won't be until 26.
Yeah, exactly.
Team Ninja, who are known for the Dead or Alive series, they are going to be helping with development of the title. So it's gonna run at 60 frames per second. Good. So that gives me a lot more faith in this game. Like, I'm not a big fan of the Dead or Alive series. I used to really like them, but I don't know. I guess I just outgrew them. But I feel like getting a Dead or Alive 5. I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. So getting a respectable developer like Team Ninja to help with development of this game should definitely help make it. It'll, for one, it will attract the eyes of the fighting game community, and it will help make a better fighting game. Because I mean, at the end of the day, this is a fighting game. Like, despite the fact that it's very, very, very different from any other fighting game, at its core, it is still a fighting game. And I'm excited. I'm really excited for this game. Oh, one last thing, actually, there were summons. We saw Infrit in the trailer.
Yes.
Yeah, he looked a little more humanoid than he usually does, but there is. I'm excired. Nothing else to say here.
I think it's going to be good, and I just hope that they show off some of the more classic areas. Like, I really like seeing the Shinron factory building thing from FF7. I liked seeing that. That would be really cool. But before we wrap things up, it's question time for Waz. We got another comment for today's podcast. So Lobster Monk strikes again. So he is asking if Bethesda ever thought about making a Skyrim HD remake for like the PS4 and the Xbox One. Would that be a good idea, or do you think Skyrim is fine the way it looks and how it runs on the 360 and the PS3 and whatnot?
I think at this point Bethesda just needs to release Fallout 4. Yeah, like sure, a Skyrim HD remake would be kind of cool because there's like 3 people that own next gen console that haven't played Skyrim, so that would be good for them. But I'm pretty sure the vast majority of people would just prefer to have Fallout 4 in their living rooms. Real talk, like yeah, I don't see any points to it at this point. Yeah.
My opinion with this is like, yeah, it would be kind of an interesting idea, but like the reality of the situation is that like a lot of people have already played Skyrim, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that if you want a really good looking Skyrim, you could probably just buy it for the PC and mod it to like infinity. Because the amount of mods that are on the PC, especially for Skyrim, is like unbelievable. There are so many different like graphical mods, silly mods, and stuff like that. So the possibilities for PC Skyrim is endless. So it kind of doesn't make sense because you're losing that if you make a PS4 HD remake, or an Xbox One. But, you know, it would be kind of an interesting idea, but like, you know, we've talked about this before, is that I think at this point we've got enough remakes and we've got enough HD re-releases. Yep. We need to just focus on starting to come up with some new IPs and new stuff. Yeah. Because it's starting to get a little bit out of hand.
It is.
But anyway, without further ado, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And if you leave a comment in the comment section, we'll answer it in the next podcast. And as always, this was William Liberty and...
was Muhammad Yusuf.
And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.